Welcome once again to another episode of What Nobody Told Me After 65. Listen, I'm beside myself. I'm beside myself with anticipation of giving you some information that I uncovered purely by accident. I was going to do a broadcast about seniors and their wills, last will and testament. But as I was researching, an article popped up on ABC News, and the title caught my eye. Because we've been talking about Medicaid and Medicare. This is the headline. State Medicaid offices target dead people's homes to recoup their health care costs. Now, this is an article that was reported by Amanda Seitz, 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 from the Associated Press on March the 16th, 2024, an ABC News report. And what she reported is that most state Medicaid offices have the authority to recoup their health care costs after you are dead, up to and including, get this, your house. Wow. That was a shock. So, being the investigative person that I am, the nosy person that I am, I tried to log on to a site so that I could get an application so that I could read through it to find out where you have given the authority for them to take your house. But all of the state Medicaid websites are regulated by the federal government. And to make a fake account so that I could get an application, that wasn't prudent. I like you guys, but I'm not ready to go to jail for you. So what I did is I opted for the next best thing. A sample. If I could just get a sample copy of the application, I'd be able to see where we went wrong, if in fact we have done this thing. And when I say done this thing, that we have signed over the rights for them to take our house. So voila, I found a sample copy on the South Carolina Division of Health and Human Services. I got a PDF. Now, PDF is a portable document format. It's the kind of format that you can't mess with it. It's the original of a document, but it sits there and you can't manipulate it. And that's fine, because I didn't want to manipulate it. I wanted to see the original. And you can read it, but nothing else. So I began reading the application. And boy, they asked for a lot of information. Your children, how long you've been sick, where were you sick, when did you first get sick. Now, you have to put yourself in the shoes of a person who's ill, and the bills are mounting, and you don't have any, you're desperate. Your family is trying to pay for stuff, and they're desperate. So what do? We skip reading the document. If I've said anything, and I've said anything ever to you, to remember, do not sign a document that you did not read. You have to read it. I don't care how long it takes. I've been in offices and they give me a document and say, can you sign? Sure. Just a moment. And I'm sitting and I'm reading and I'm rereading and I'm looking over it and they're like, are you ready to sign yet? No, I'm not. I'm not finished. I have to read it. I was in a orthopedic office and I was reading the document they wanted me to sign, And it told me that the person who was in charge of the office that I was in, they had to be registered or licensed with some licensing authority, and that their name had to be up on the wall so that if I had an issue, I could get in touch with them. I looked on the wall behind the receptionist, and the board was there, but there was no name on it. It was blank. Yes, I made her get up and go find out who that person was, give me their name, and then put it on that board. Yes, I did. Because the document I was signing said that had to be there. So here's what happened. They didn't read it. They didn't read the fine print. And so I read it, and I'm going to read it to you. Way down in the application, at step number 5, it says, read and sign this application. I want to show it to you. Wait a minute. Am I going to be able to show it to you? Yes. I had to get some of the light off of it. Yeah, I think it says read. Yes, you can see. Read and sign this application. And we are at step 5. All righty? Okay. So, here's what it says. Number 1, I know that under federal law, discrimination isn't permitted on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, age, or disability. I can file a complaint of discrimination by visiting blah, blah, blah. That's number 1. Number 2, I know I will be asked to cooperate with the agency that collects medical support from an absent parent if I think that cooperating to collect medical support will harm me or my children, and in the event that you're in a domestic violence kind of situation, I can tell the agency and may not have to cooperate. Number 3, I assign and give my rights to any payments from a liable third party to the Department of Health and Human Services, whatever state you're in, up to the payment amount that Healthy Connections, that's this organization that was helping people fill out the Medicaid application, has made for my medical care. This assignment applies to any of my minor children who may be injured. These payments may include payments from health insurance, legal settlements, or other third parties. I also understand that I have a duty to cooperate in identifying and providing information to assist Healthy Connections, again, the organization, in pursuing third parties who may be liable to pay for care and services. That's number 3. Number 4, I understand that I must cooperate fully with state and federal workers if my case is reviewed. I also understand that as a condition of eligibility, I must apply for and take steps to obtain any other benefits, including but not limited to annuities, pensions, retirement, disability, and other benefits. Number 5, as an applicant / beneficiary for Medicaid services, I understand that there are 2 groups of people that are affected by estate recovery. Here it is. The first group, a person of any age who was a patient in a nursing facility, intermediate care facility for the mentally retarded, or other medical institution at the time of death, and who was required to pay most of his or her income for the cost of care. That's the first group. Or a person who was 55 years of age or older when he or she received medical assistance consisting of nursing facility services, home and community-based services, and hospital and prescription drug services provided to individuals in nursing facilities or receiving home community-based services. I understand that upon receiving any of these services, the Department of Health and Human Services will file a claim against my estate, all personal and real property owned by me at my death, for the amount Medicaid has paid for my services. Number 6, I know that I must tell the Department of Health and Human Services if any information I listed on this application changes and is different than what I wrote on this application. I understand that a change in my information could affect my eligibility for members of my household. Number 7 goes on to say the information I provide in this application will be used to check my eligibility for the payment for health coverage if I choose to apply. If the information I provide doesn't match our electronic data, I may be asked to send proof. I know that unless I specifically ask to be excluded, information collected will be securely stored in order to be sure the services provided to my family and me are sufficient and necessary. Nah, it's to exclude you in the event you're getting something that they feel you shouldn't be receiving. I know that personal health information, this is number 9. I skipped number 8. I know that personal health information I provide or that is later gathered by the Department of Health and Human Services is covered by the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. That's HIPAA. And I will receive a notice of privacy practices along with my Healthy Connection cards. Now, it's a bunch of reading. The writing is not very big, but it is number 5 and number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Number 3 starts, I assign and give my rights to any payments. Number 4, I understand I must cooperate fully and that I understand that if I don't, it might affect my eligibility. And number 5, the estate recovery business. Whew. The estate recovery. It's in there. It's in there, plain as day. It's in there, and I didn't know about it. And let's go back to this story, because this is what started the whole thing. Let's go back. So again, this is Amanda Seitz from the Associated Press, and this was on March the 16th. And I'm not going to give you, you can read the article. I'm going to give you the website. But I'm not going to tell you the names of the people that's in the article, because this is posted all over the place. And unless you go to the website, you won't get their name. But anyway, here was a person who had cancer, and they had all the pain that came with it. And his daughter promised to keep this gentleman in the little house that he bought many, many years ago. He hard-earned money. And he bought this house, and he wanted to die in this house. This was his house. And so after this young lady's father died, she got a bill from the state of Massachusetts for $177,000 for her father's Medicaid expenses, and they threatened to sue and take his house if she didn't pay up. And this young lady said that house was everything to her father, and she wasn't doing it. But she thought it might be a mistake. And after contacting the proper authorities, she found that it wasn't a mistake, that he had, in fact, signed over the rights. And that's that application that I just read you. This article says it's a part of a routine process the federal government requires of every state to recover money from the assets of dead people who in their final years relied on Medicaid, the taxpayer-funded health insurance for the poorest Americans. A person's home is typically exempt from qualifying for Medicaid, but it is subject to the estate recovery process for those who are over 55 and use Medicaid to pay for long-term care, such as nursing home stays or in-home health care. Now, I don't know how we didn't know about this, but anyway, it took this young lady 2 years to fight to get them to drop the case. Well, actually, what they did is they settled, and she had to get a nonprofit, a local nonprofit organization, probably legal aid or somebody, to help her fight this. 2 years after her father's dead, she's still fighting to keep the family home. If he'd have known, she says, he never would have signed on with anything that would put his home in jeopardy. We don't know these things that we are signing. That's why I'm saying again, you have to read the fine print. I don't care if it takes you 12 hours. You sit there and you read it. If they can't wait for you to read it, then take it with you and bring it back. So anyway, this article goes on to say that for years, her father got an annual renewal notice from the state's Medicaid office. She says it wasn't until after his death, when the state demanded $177,000, when she saw the first bill for his care, which included a brief stay in the hospital and medications, and then finally for hospice. This young lady said it ripped her guts out because she felt it was dishonest. I say it's dishonest. The state settled with her in 2019 and released its claim on the house. State policies around this recovery process vary widely, according to a 2021 report from the Medicaid and CHIP Payment and Access Commission, which makes policy recommendations to Congress. Some states will put a lien, a legal right, on a home, while others don't. Meanwhile, some Medicaid offices try to recoup all medical costs from patients, like doctor's visits or prescriptions, while others just pursue the cost for the long-term care. Alaska and Arizona pursued just dozens, maybe 12 or so, properties in recent years, while other states go after thousands of homes, totaling hundreds of millions of dollars. New York and Ohio top the country for such collections, recovering more than $100 million combined in a single year. That was as reported by a Dayton Daily News investigation, Dayton, Ohio. An investigation into the Kansas program, released Tuesday by the Health and Human Services Inspector General, found that program was cost-effective. It yielded $37 million, while only spending $5 million to recover the money. But the state didn't always collect the money from estates that were eligible. They went after some, and some they didn't. It was willy-nilly. Nothing was across the board. Estate recovery has the potential to perpetuate wealth disparities and intergenerational poverty. That was from Catherine Howitt, who's a Medicaid policy director with the foundation. In Tennessee, which recovered more than $38.2 million from more than 8,000 estates last year, a young lady found herself in a similar predicament after her mother died in 2021. As her mother's early onset Alzheimer's worsened, this young lady continued to care for her, but in 2015, when the mother was diagnosed with breast cancer, the young lady herself was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she needed a double mastectomy. She started looking at other options to help care for her mother, and so she went to the local Medicaid office, and the representative told her to take all the money out of her mother's bank accounts, and that's the money that this young lady had to pour into an assisted living facility so that her mother would qualify for the Medicaid program. And then she recalls being somewhat offended during the meeting after the representative asked her 3 times, this is your mother's home, right? This is your mother's home. You know, the representative kept on saying it, but she didn't make any mention that she could be forced to sell the house to settle her mother's bill with Medicaid once her mother died. I'm telling you right now, we should be up in arms. This is ridiculous. Come on. How in the world? We're taxed, double taxed. It's ridiculous. And now this little nugget, oh, please, let your family members know if you signed a Medicaid contract, what you have signed. Now, you might be able to fix this by having your attorney specifically put in your last will and testament some paragraph or something to the effect that, you know, you don't agree with this and it shouldn't be. I don't know the legal terms, but today's program was supposed to be on last will and testament. I'll do that tomorrow so that I can look and see if I can make sense out of what I'm learning tonight and whether or not you can get an attorney to backtrack some of this. It's a shame. It's a shame. Estate recovery. Oh, I'm just so upset. Well, I hope this has been enlightening. I hope you too will do your homework, talk to your loved ones, find out what's going on, and remember to subscribe, share, like, and view. Watch the whole video. I need the viewership if I'm going to continue to do what I'm doing, and that's what YouTube requires. So I need you to view the entire video. And remember, you don't know what you don't know. Thanks for listening. Be blessed.